The Path to Authenticity is brought to you by GIA Miami. Founded by world-class mental health experts, GIA provides advanced care for difficult-to-treat conditions, including anxiety, medication-resistant depression, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Using state-of-the-art methods, GIA can help people recover from conditions when more traditional approaches can't. Dr. Antonello Bonci has assembled an expert team serving international clientele in a modern and resplendent Miami setting. If you or someone you love is suffering from depression, anxiety, OCD, or other mental health concerns, call GIA at 833-713-0828. You can learn more about GIA by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting giamiami.com.
Thank you for listening to The Path to Authenticity. My name's Tom Gentry. I think of this show as the opposite of small talk. You'll hear real conversations with real people who know who they are. We talk about what makes them who they are, how they became who they are, and how we might become truer expressions of who we are. If this is your first time here, thanks for checking it out. If not, thanks for coming back. I'm Tom Gentry, and this is The Path to Authenticity, episode 187 for August 9th, 2022. So, I've been doing a little work in this little makeshift studio that I have over the last few days. If you've listened, you know I moved to Indiana in March from Florida, moved back home to where I grew up, and I really thought the first thing I would do in this house that I moved into is get this room I'm using as a studio good and situated. And although I've been able to use it and get decent quality sound, it's kind of the last thing that I've really been working on. So I did some things in here yesterday to attenuate some of the sound that's coming in. There's one exterior window in this room, so hopefully it sounds a little bit better. And I have a lot of other changes in the works. If you've been listening, you know that I'm writing a book. And I teased that around the end of the year. I did an episode where I read about 20 minutes worth of material that I've written and will eventually become part of this book. And my intention is going forward through the end of the year into next year, focusing a lot more on my writing. And if you've listened since the beginning of this, you know you've heard me say that the reason I started this podcast in the first place was to build an audience for my writing. So one of the things I'm going to do to nurture that audience, try to grow it, hopefully, is create a Substack account. So by the time you hear this, that'll be in existence. I'll include a link in the show notes. So anyone who's subscribed to the mailing list for the podcast, I'm going to start using Substack for that rather than Constant Contact. And I'm going to create a couple levels of subscriptions. I'm going to do a monthly newsletter that anyone can get. And then behind a paywall, I'm going to release exclusively works in progress. And hopefully that'll become a once a week thing. That'll also be a place where if you're reading it and you're subscribing, we can interact. You can comment. I can respond. I don't know if I'll be doing it once a week right away, but I already have something that I want to post there. And it might start out like once or twice a month and then eventually lead to once a week. I don't want to make any promises yet, but my plan is to release something there once a week. And then I'm going to have a higher level paywall where those things that I write, that I release, I will read to people who pay a little bit more. So you'll have that sound. Yeah, so this is exciting stuff for me. Got a title for this Substack thing, and I'm going to start working on that today. So this episode features a buddy of mine, Ken Hudson. This is an episode of the 20 questions format. We did this on Clubhouse. And I love Ken. He's a great guy and an important part of my life. And was honored to have him on the show. So I hope you enjoy it. Here you go. Ken Hudson. So today, I'm talking to my buddy Ken, who I've known since he's actually a terrestrial friend. I've known him since 2015. We've been in each other's orbits for even longer than that. We have a lot of mutual friends too. Now, Ken reached out to me last week when I was doing this and was talking about how he felt like it was a good exercise in personal growth. So at which point I said, perfect. So that means you should be a guest. Let's do it. So here we go. If your life were a novel, what would be the title?
Oh, shit.
Is that the title or is that an exclamation?
That's the title.
Okay.
That's the title.
Where were you born?
Elberton, Georgia.
And what is that in close proximity to? What major city?
So it's, if you can visualize the border between Georgia and South Carolina, which is the Savannah River, and you find Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters. If you go up that about 50 miles, Elberton is on the Georgia side, looking across at South Carolina. It's about 20 minutes from Athens.
Okay.
Home with the dogs.
All right. And what is the place you call home?
You know, I guess right here in Palm Beach County, South Florida, is home.
And how long have you been in South Florida?
Next to the ocean. This September marks 25 years.
Wow. You came down here at the same time I did, Ken. September of 96.
I know. I heard you when you talked about your dates when you showed up there.
Yeah. All right. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grow up?
A pilot.
A pilot.
Jet pilot.
Okay. And what is your profession?
I am an insurance agent. I represent one company basically, so I'm kind of captive, but I've been doing it. June 13th, I started 38 years.
Oh, wow.
Same company. Still a commissioned agent.
Okay.
Have what they call a book of business, customers that I take care of. Some of the customers I never enroll, but they know they can call me and I'll help them with claims and things like that. So it's some satisfaction.
And what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
You know, it's going to sound funny, but I would like to be a chiropractor.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed, Ken. What is it about that you're attracted to? Just touching people?
There you go. So, I have a buddy. This was in 98. And he has an accent like I do, but he was from South Carolina. And actually, it's probably further in the country than I was. And we were working for the same company. And he said, he knew I went to a chiropractor. I drove all the way to Fort Lauderdale to see this guy. But he said, I've got a guy I'm going to see. I can't figure out what he does to me. I don't think he's doing anything, but I feel better. Would you go watch and see if you can figure out what he does? And I said, okay, it sounds like an interesting idea. So I went. The man was kind. He let me in the door with my buddy Dan. I just kind of sat there in the chair in the examining room and watched him. And he was checking his balance and all this kind of stuff. And when it was over with and we got outside, I said, I didn't see him do a damn thing. I don't know what he's doing. How do you feel? He said, I feel great. Long story short, I wound up going to see him too after about another year. And what he does is, I never got him to tell me, he would never tell me exactly what it was, but he uses pressure points. Mm-hmm. He doesn't snap and pop and jerk you. I've had those. But I see this guy once a year just for a tune-up. Mm-hmm. I can tell when I need to go. A little pain in my back, a pain in my neck, not caused by somebody, but I can feel it. And I've learned how to kind of help adjust myself. I just get on the floor, lay still, get kind of peaceful, and then I start working the spots that I'd seen Eric do. Wow. And I thought, oh my God, this is wonderful. Wow. And I've turned some other people on who were in serious pain, and they found it useful. And it's simply working with pressure points. That's the story.
So you want to make people feel better. That's what
he's a healer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Eric is a healer, and that appeals to me. That really appeals to me. Mm-hmm. Make people feel better.
What's your favorite quote?
Oh my God. I knew I should have studied this. Hang on. I got it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just got to get it set right. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven.
Okay. Well, you definitely do that, Ken. I witnessed it.
Work at it.
Yeah. What is your preferred form of creative expression?
Probably verbal, doing what we're doing right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they let me tell my story or tell a story or, I don't know, my brain seems to work good. I like writing. I'm not disciplined enough to sit down and do it. I get too tangled up in the details. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I tend to write like, James Fenimore Cooper. You've ever read the Leatherstocking Tales?
I haven't. I've started to, but I haven't.
Last Mohicans, The Deer Slayer, The Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. Those last two are my favorite, but he writes in such detail. It paints a great picture for me, and I tend to try to write that way, but buddy, it's labor intensive. So, speaking.
Have you ever read Cormac McCarthy?
I have not.
Pick up one of his books, The Road. And
okay.
Some of the other ones. I mean, just the diction that he has, the range of words. I mean, there's some authors that I just have to keep the dictionary handy, and he's definitely one of them. And, he'll be talking about guys out in the desert and use some word, and you look it up and it's some obscure, specifically shaped rock or something. You know what I mean? It's like, God, how the hell did he know that word?
My wife she said that, somewhere or another, she's got her master's in counseling, and she said that women have a 25,000 word vocabulary and men have 5. And usually when I get home, I've already used up mine, for the day. But she's a real good word person with words, and me, I'm as simple as they come, I think. A, N, and V.
All right. What's your favorite movie, Ken?
The Quiet Man. John Wayne, Maureen O'Hare.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's a long time since I've thought about that one. That was one of the few movies where he was in that wasn't a Western, right? That and the, what's the one about the fireman? What was that one called? Remember
Oh,
that one?
Something. Oh my God. Yeah, I know exactly what his name is. Red something. He's a true story. Actually, that's supposed to be a true story.
Right.
From Texas. They put out oil rig fires.
Right. I used to watch John Wayne movies with my dad. So that's, it always touches my heart. And they're a lot better than you might think if you've never seen one. Even stand the test of time to some degree. What's your favorite song?
That one I did think about some. And, it's like somebody said the other day when we were talking about what kind of questions. I don't know that I have one. If I put my mind in neutral and I'm just kind of humming, humming my day through whatever I'm doing. My hands are busy. I'm doing something. I'm humming. It's going to quickly be a honky tonk song of some kind that I heard in college.
George Jones? Some George Jones songs?
I know Possum. I can sing a couple of his. I fell into one of his the other day and it just kept repeating. I like a lot of music and, most of it is stuff that I can understand the lyrics to.
Mm-hmm. I like lyrics too. I'm generally a lyric guy. I'm more focused on the lyrics than the music.
But you know what? I'll tell you this. I've gotten away from songs as I've listened to lyrics that don't portray, if they portray violence, whether it's domestic or whatever, or things like that, more of the negative kind of things, I'm steered away from those. I'm trying to clean up what my filter, what comes in. And, cause they don't make me feel good. Even if the melody sounds nice, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I do that with TV more, especially at night. Like as much as I think, The Handmaid's Tale, as great as it is, as beautifully shot as it is, and the story's fantastic, man, it's dark stuff,
Yes,
and I just don't want that in my consciousness before I go to bed at night. So,
amen.
All right. Favorite work of art? You have one?
It's one that's similar to, you had mentioned one about before, but Winslow Homer did one called The Hurricane.
Okay.
And my wife had a print of that when we first got married. And then when we went to, the Met and the Museum of, Metropolitan Museum of Art, I saw the original hanging there and it was pretty cool. And, I'd say The Hurricane.
Yeah, well, you get to live that in real life down here occasionally, too.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's pretty wild when you get to see the palms on a tree all going in the same direction.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, rip your roof off, right?
Yeah, yep.
As long as you're not outside in it. It is. It's freaky to watch. And it's funny, Ken can tell you that when it's like a day or two before a hurricane hits, there's just this feeling in the air that is, you don't feel any other time. It's just like there's something looming, right?
Right.
And even days before that, the panic in the community, the way there's just this buzz in the air. And I will say, being pretty fortunate as an American, I haven't had to experience war or anything like that. But the closest thing I have is being around after a hurricane when the infrastructure is not in place, the stores are closed, there's no food, it gets weird, it really does. So God forbid we have to deal with that anytime soon. Hurricane season's almost over. All right. Who do you admire most, Ken?
God bless, he's an author. Tom, he's the guy I always talk about. I read his book this morning.
Emmett Fox.
Emmett Fox.
Yeah. Talk about Emmett Fox for people who might not be familiar with him.
So, I am a grateful member of Al-Anon. And if you're not familiar with what that organization is, it's a fellowship of people who've been affected by someone else's drinking, whether it's their own family member, good friend, whatever it is. It's a support group. And I went to it's an AA meeting. It's unofficial, but they have Al-Anon support. And so they have a speaker from Al-Anon and a speaker from AA. They each talk for like 12 minutes and share their experience, strength, and hope. And the guys from the AA side kept quoting this guy. Well, Emmett Fox says, and Emmett Fox in the Sermon on the Mount. And on the Al-Anon side, we talk about conference-approved literature, meaning you can't call something like this book I'm telling you about conference-approved. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. All my sponsees are asked to read it because it will change their life. And so I went and bought one at the bookstore at the AA Clubhouse. And the book I bought was Sermon on the Mount. And he takes that and helps you understand his opinion of the spiritual meaning of it. And folks, I would read a page, read a paragraph, and then just have to sit there and weep. And I can get that way thinking about it right now. It's really, really so moving, and it changed my life and helped me to understand. And then the funny thing about that is, so I'm looking for something I understand in reading that, and I'm well familiar with the 12 steps. I could see where the 12 steps in recovery came from. Hey, Bill W. and Dr. Bob used to go hear this man speak in London. I mean, probably in London and in New York City too.
Right.
He passed away in 1950 something, but he was born in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. And his books are still in circulation big time. And he has a daily reader, and it just, for every day, there was a good one in there today. And usually he'll support what he puts in there, what he talks about with a piece of scripture, a verse. Mm-hmm. And it's about being responsible for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Yeah. Well, one of the things he talks about that I really like is the magnifying mind. He talks about how when we give something our attention, it grows.
Yes.
And it's really true. All right. Moving right along. Over the course of your life, what is an issue with which you have repeatedly struggled?
Money.
You want to say more about that?
It's not necessarily making it. I've made a lot of money. It's just that I'm kind of vague when it comes to where it goes. Mm-hmm. And I've been the sole support in my house for 18 years. My wife wanted to take some time off of teaching school after she had gone and got her master's and stuff. And I thought she was eventually going to go back to work, and she never did. And so, and the funny thing is that was a year after we just bought a house. And that was scary. It was scary to have that responsibility and not have the confidence in simply adding and subtracting numbers, because I don't just sit down and do that. And a buddy of mine, we were having coffee today, and we were talking about, he knows me and been in recovery with me. And he says, you do realize you're in denial, right? You're in denial about the fear and the feelings that you have. And I said, hell, I just thought it was vagueness. But he's right. So it's that's probably the thing right there. And I don't like money. I blame money for stuff in my family of origin. Mm-hmm. And I just, God has blessed me though. I've made enough to be able to support my family. COVID has made it a little bit tight, so I'm having to dig into some Emmett Fox and look at what I'm focusing on. And I'll give you a little clue. I figured out that I was focusing on surviving and not thriving. And that's all I've been doing is just surviving. I'm growing in my recovery mind and in my activities, but that's more in my ability to be of service to somebody else. I've been, put it this way, piss poor service to kin. And not being stingy, just not being conscious and paying attention to what I'm thinking about and what my focus is. But when you focus on just getting by, just like you said, magnified, that's all that's being magnified is getting by.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, we've talked, and it's something that as a kid, I had a lot of mixed messages about. And, it's a relationship. And we have to manage it like other relationships, right? We have to tend to it. And if we don't, like you said, you can make a lot of money, but still not have a great relationship with it.
Right.
So, in childhood, who was your celebrity crush?
Elizabeth Montgomery.
Now, who was that, Ken? Usually I would get something
Bewitched.
like, oh.
Bewitched.
Yeah, she wiggle her nose. Wiggle her nose.
Yep.
That's a good one, Ken.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. I got good taste. The other one would be I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara Eden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were some good shows, those. I grew up watching reruns of that stuff. You know?
Yep.
What historical figure would you most like to meet?
I think George Washington.
Okay. Why?
Suddenly he's the leader of a group of people that are going their own way. They're breaking off. It's a paradigm shift from being governed by the mother country, and they have to start it from scratch. And they work to put it together.
Yeah, the other amazing thing about him, I mean, his influence on the formation of it all was really powerful. Just like, I mean, he's why it's Mr. President and not your eminence or whatever. He wouldn't have it. Right.
Right.
And really, had he not had such a heart for serving others, none of this might have ever happened. I mean, he's the one who stepped up,
Yep.
So, yeah, I get it. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Starting the journey of self-discovery. When I found my way into recovery rooms 12 years, I'm going on 13 years now ago, looking and asking questions and finding out, following the path to find out just who I am and what value do I have.
What quality do you admire most in a person?
Probably vulnerability. Humility. That's a good one. What's something you'd like to learn about? It's going to sound funny, but there's a guy, when you talk to people about the books that I've been mentioning, the Emmett Fox and stuff, there's a guy named Goldsmith. Yeah, it's not Goldstein, it's Goldsmith. About the same time as Emmett Fox. And he wrote a book, I think the title is The Art of Spiritual Healing. And I firmly, with all my heart and all my soul, believe that there's so much more that we all have the power to do in healing the things that affect us, both physically and certainly mentally and emotionally. And that's untapped. And he works at that. And I use some of that, if somebody calls me and says, I'm just having this tough time, Al-Anon has taught me I can't fix them because I probably don't know what they need anyway. But what I can do is I do pray for them. I pray for the healing of their body. I visualize where their problem is, and don't know that it works or not. Don't have to. I believe it does. I believe it helps.
What's something you want to learn more about was the question. So
Healing.
Okay.
Spiritual healing.
What do you wish more people knew about you?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I am what I present. I'm a genuine article.
Well, that's been my experience of you so far.
Yes, sir.
And I really appreciate that. I mean, we've had some difficult conversations but we shoot straight with each other,
That's right.
And we love each other,
Yep.
What's your idea of success?
Oh, got a great definition for that. progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Wow, that's a big one.
The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's not mine. I adopted it. I read that and it made the most sense to me. And because it's on a continuum, you know, whether your desire is to be a school teacher and teach first graders, and you're doing it, that's a success. It's not about money. That's something we earn from doing whatever we do if we do something. But the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
And what would you say your worthy ideal is, Ken?
To be a good human. To be. I'm working a little bit trying to separate myself from all the trappings, from the roles, questioning roles, and I do know that I'm a spiritual being. I firmly believe that with all my heart and all my being. And to me, that's the most important thing. And, you know, it's like I said in a meeting one time that I heard this and I realized this. If I work to be the person that God has made me to be, the right people will be in my life. And I trust that process. And so working to be my best, meaning facing the demons and being vulnerable and being seen and realize that those things don't necessarily define me. You know?
All right. Last question.
Okay.
What would you like people to say about you when you're gone?
He was a good friend. I mean, it's pretty simple. He was a good friend. He loved us. They knew that I love them.
I know some guys who would definitely say that.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm one of them. So I appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy.
All right, there you go. Another episode in the books. Thanks for listening. You can learn more about the show and this episode's guest at thepathtooauthenticity.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Every little bit helps. I want to thank the band Punk Rock Opera, whose music you hear throughout the show. Their songs are used with permission from the artist and under a Creative Commons license. If you're so inclined, check out the Patreon community. As soon as I do these interviews, I upload them to Patreon, where the content is only available to patrons, and for just a couple bucks a month. I usually post audio content, their exclusive audio content, probably 8 times a month, if not more. And as these new episodes are released, as soon as they're done, they're available to patrons. So sometimes that might be 2 weeks before an episode is released, or even longer. Usually it's a few days. Anyway, if you want to support the show, that's a great way to do it. So thanks again for investing your time. It's a big deal to me. Thank you for supporting me and supporting the show. I hope you keep coming back. Be nice.
That's our story. I hope you enjoyed the punk rock opera. We have one last piece of music for you. It goes like this.
Okay, go. 'cause we are the Gen X men. We're just the losers that lived up the street, living on these chords, simple beats. You wanna cheat, you wanna stop, you wanna tear us down. We are the bad plans, man. We got our roots stuck in the ground.
Musical generation, self-made bands. We cut our teeth with bloody hands. The rage has instilled in us. Can feed a crowd, give them a rush. Thank you. And good night.